The Auburn Tigers tonight made a pretty good SEC team look like a not very good SEC team.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for joining this live edition of the show. The Auburn Tigers take down the Oklahoma Sooners 98-70 in a game that really felt more lopsided than that. Hats off to Oklahoma. They kept it closer than most of the experts thought in maybe the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game. I was texting with John Williams, the Locked On Sooners host, and it's like, look, if they want to do this, they've got to close out the first half. They didn't do that, and Oklahoma just didn't have enough firepower to stay with the Auburn Tigers. They tried to make it chippy late. We'll touch on that as well. But the moral of the story in all of this is an example of what Auburn looks like when they've got a matchup problem and when the guys are just being able to consistently hit from three. I mean, there were so many different guys that kind of went on a little bit of runs. I mean, Miles Kelly wasn't crazy scoring, but he got those first 5 points pretty quickly to kind of get Auburn going. You had Tahad Pettiford get hot there in the second half. Denver 3 of 3 from behind the arc. Chaney Johnson was streaky, especially in the second half. There was just so many different guys that stepped up. I mean, Auburn almost scored 100 points against a good Oklahoma team, and they didn't have one player score more than 15 points. Auburn scored 98. They almost scored 100 points in a conference game, and nobody popped. It was just kind of a team effort. Like, that's what we're dealing with. And if you're at Oklahoma, or if you're, list all of these solid SEC teams that Auburn's played and beaten. Missouri, even better than what we thought. Or Mississippi State. I mean, there's so many of these teams that are probably tournament teams, and Auburn just wears you down. It's just so much to handle. And sure, Johni Broome is who you have to game plan for. But then if you focus too much on him and one of these guys gets hot from behind the arc, I mean, this is what happens. And it wasn't just one guy. It was the entire team. Incredible performance by these Auburn Tigers. Denver Jones, perfect from the floor. I say this anytime somebody's perfect from the floor. It's like, why is Denver shooting just 4 times? 4 of 4 from the floor, 3 of 3 from behind the arc. I mean, Denver Jones was incredible. I thought he was extremely effective defensively. Denver Jones' plus minus tonight was plus 26. It's just, Auburn won by 28, right? So it's just an incredible performance by these guys. The storyline, though, that I think most Auburn fans are passionate about, and rightfully so, is how the game was called in the second half. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the officiating because, I think for the most part, for the relevant minutes of the game, I think it was fine. But this feeds this narrative that Chad Baker-Mazara, the way this game was called with him fouling out and the double or the offsetting technicals and all of that, this still feeds into this narrative that Chad Baker-Mazara is this dirty player, and he's not. He's not. I don't think he did anything wrong tonight. And the lack of, these refs, they wanted to review everything in that 10-minute stretch, and they just didn't want to overturn anything. It's like, goodness gracious. Like, why are you reviewing it if you don't have the stones to do anything about it? I loved everything about Chad Baker-Mazara tonight. I love that. I think the reason he was able to stay so confident on the sideline and be, the number one cheerleader in Neville Arena tonight was because I think his coaches said something to him, said like, hey, yeah, like you got hosed there. Thank goodness we're up by like 20 points or whatever it was when he was let go. And to me, I think that was extremely encouraging. I also love that they just had a camera on Chad Baker-Mazara for like the entire game. I think that was awesome. But the fact of the matter is, when he got elbowed by Fears, if he does that, he's thrown out of the game. And we saw that last year against Yale. And I think the way Chad Baker-Mazara has been both on and off the floor is a total 180 from what he did a year ago. He's still passionate. He's still loud. And he's still, doing what he can to get under the skin of the opponent. But he's not some dirty player. And that's the narrative that surrounds him. And, these officials are supposed to be protecting these players. And Damian Fishback was all over it on the call tonight. He's like, this is about to get out of hand if you're not careful. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. The elbow thing, I think, was bad because, once again, can't stress it enough. If Chad Baker-Mazara were to do that, he would have been let go. He would have been kicked out and said, all right, we'll see you next game. The kick, super unfortunate for Denver. I didn't mind that one staying there. But if you're an official and you're calling this game, once again, Damian Fishback was all over this. He predicted all of this was about to happen. It's like, if you're Auburn and it's all right, you're letting these guys just kick us and elbow us and you're not doing anything about it. Like, yeah, somebody's going to say something. What'd you expect? I mean, this Auburn team's filled with a bunch of alphas and it's a 20-something point game at that point. It's like, who cares? Who cares? If Chad needed to say something, whatever. Didn't really seem like the coaching staff was too upset with him. So I'm not too shaken up about it. I loved everything about Chad Baker-Mazara tonight. I thought he was infectious. That's a guy you want in your locker room. And to me, Chad's 15 points, 5-11 from the floor. Solid game. Solid 20 minutes of action for Chad Baker-Mazara. All right, in the live chat, thank y'all for hanging out so late on a Tuesday night. How fun. Let us know who your player of the game is. I think we're going to get some Chad Baker-Mazaras. I think we're going to get some Denver Jones. I think we're going to get some Johni Broomes. I think it's actually a conversation tonight, which is very, very fun. Something we need to remember here is Oklahoma. We did this after Purdue. We did this after Ohio State. Like, Oklahoma is a good team. I mean, you even saw the broadcast crew tonight saying, like, Oklahoma's probably in the tournament right now. Like, Oklahoma's probably a tournament team. And, like, you had to remind folks. And I had to remind myself, like, Oklahoma is good, even though Auburn won by 28. I saw the line at FanDuel open at 16.5. I don't know what it closed at, but it opened at 16.5. And I felt confident, picking Auburn to win. But 16 points again, and this really didn't have anything to do with Auburn. I just think Oklahoma's better than a lot of people are treating them. And to me, the 28 point. I mean, it could have been 35 if they would have kind of put their foot on the gas. So, close at 17.5 is what Warrior says. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, good teams win and great teams cover. So, a lot of different answers here in the chat. CBM, Dylan Cardwell, definitely the play of the game was Dylan Cardwell with that reverse alley-oop dunk. That was insane. Electric. Absolutely electric. Denver Jones. I think it's Denver. I think Chad Baker-Mazara certainly got the most attention, but I think Denver, he was perfect from the floor. Dylan also was perfect from the floor. Dylan had 3 threes in there, and Denver's defense was just, he's electric. Plus 26 from the floor. Plus minus. It's insane. All right. What is Auburn's record over their next 5 games? We'll jump into that as well as your comments. I'm solo tonight. Daryl's sick. A lot of y'all are asking where Daryl is. He is sick. He's out for the count. We'll jump into your questions, your takes, as well as Auburn's record over the next 5 games. I think it's going to be good. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. If you're looking at, potentially getting a chance to see this historic team, we're running out of games, especially at home. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. It doesn't matter if it's for basketball, for football, for baseball, non-sport things. Game Time has you covered. And they've also got Game Time picks. It's their the app does all the hard work for you with Game Time picks. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. Make your next event even better. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. And today, your second listen or your third listen. This is our third show that we've put up today. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. 1,000 of y'all in here at 10:40 at night on a Tuesday. Super, super cool. Very thankful for every single one of you. Auburn's record over the next 5 games. We've said this before. It's a tough stretch. It's an important stretch. And we're about to see a huge opportunity for Auburn to have some separation here. A huge opportunity for Auburn to have some separation here. You saw Kentucky lose to Ole Miss tonight, which I didn't really see coming, especially after they lost to Arkansas over the weekend. I mean, you're about to see, the opportunity of them to go to Tuscaloosa. Alabama has a loss in conference. Like, can you really separate yourself? These next 5 games are going to be crucial. So Auburn hosts Florida on Saturday. Vandy made it interesting with Florida for a little bit tonight. I watched some of that game, but yeah, then Florida just kind of ran away with it. Florida ran away with it unless the last few minutes shifted and I missed it. But yeah, so Auburn hosts Florida. They go to Vandy. They go to Alabama. They host Arkansas, and they host Georgia. I think hosting Arkansas, unless Arkansas just turns it around, that win against Kentucky just really catapults them into a much hotter team. I think hosting Arkansas and hosting Georgia, I think are going to be fine. I'm not worried about those two. I think Auburn goes 4-1 in this stretch. I think Auburn goes 4-1 in this stretch. The last few weeks, I've been saying 5-0. I think Auburn goes 4-1 in this stretch, and I think you have to absolutely take that. And if I had to guess the loss, it will be at Alabama. I think that's the only time this year I will pick against this team. I think they split with Alabama, and if you do that, you're good enough. You're good enough to win the SEC, get that number 1 overall seed, and I think that's going to be it. Now, obviously, if Auburn does go 5-0 in these next 5 games, I mean, I think you can start having some historic conversations here, and not just Auburn. I mean, you're talking about one of the more impressive SEC seasons of all time if Auburn goes 5-0, because then your final stretch would be versus Ole Miss, at Kentucky, at Texas A&M, and then you host Alabama. I mean, you're looking at a situation where you may just have 1 conference loss if you can win these next 5. Be incredible. It'd be truly, truly incredible. So we'll take that for what it's worth. I could see Auburn going 5-0, but I just don't think that's the most likely option. But looking at Florida a little bit tonight, and I've watched Florida throughout, I think Auburn kind of matches up well against Florida. I feel weirdly confident hosting Florida on Saturday. If we're in Gainesville, I think it's a different conversation altogether, but I feel pretty good about hosting Florida on Saturday. It does seem like a lot of the times, like leading into Auburn's Saturday games this year, when Auburn's played on a Tuesday, the team that they were playing played on a Wednesday, so Auburn got an extra day of rest. That's not the case this week. But I do think I like Auburn over the Florida Gators. Drop any questions or takes or opinions in the live chat. I'll try to highlight a few of them since it's just me tonight, talking more to you guys instead of to Daryl or to Ben. But yeah, I just can't stress enough that this Oklahoma team that Auburn just ran out of the building, it's very good. Not very good. They're a solid team. They're a tournament team. And I think Auburn just kind of made you think, is this team actually good? Is this team actually solid? And I think they are. Adam says Auburn will smash Florida. All right. I don't I mean, if they smash them, that'd be incredible. Like if Auburn just like has a double-digit win at home against Florida, it's like, what else do you need to see from this team? No question about it. JJ Stevens says Alabama's not going to be able to handle Broome down low. LOL. Sorry. I hope you're right. I absolutely hope you're right. Spencer saying, come on, Zach. To what? To what? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Let me know. Let me know. This is a great point. Now, I've said this all year. TM says Auburn's defense is better than others expect. I 100% agree. I mean, there's all these stats and graphics and all of these things that have come out saying how Auburn's one of the most efficient offenses of all time. They're one of the best offenses in the history of college basketball, or since they've been keeping track of these analytics, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's great. Well, that's fantastic. This is a team that wears you out defensively. And if you're not equipped to handle it, Auburn is in a great spot to do what they did tonight and just slowly extend that lead. I mean, Oklahoma would have a good play, and then Auburn would just have an answer every single time. And that's demoralizing. And that's when you start to see them throw elbows or maybe put their foot out a little bit further when they take a jump shot or whatever led to the double technical. I mean, it was a series of things, but like, that's what happens. It's because you get frustrated. There's nothing else you can do because you can't beat them. You can't play fair and beat them. I think that's exactly what happened. So sure, I agree with that. All right. Yeah, I think Auburn goes 4-1. I think Auburn goes 4-1 over the next 5. I hope it's 5-0. I certainly hope it's 5-0. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens against Florida. If Auburn does, blow out Florida like some of you guys are predicting, I will very quickly change that because the book will be strong on Saturday. No question about it. Chris Nicholas pointing out Auburn is number 1 on offense in KenPom and number 10 defensively. Yeah, the number 10 defensively is getting overlooked. I agree with y'all. 100%. If Auburn does like go undefeated in SEC play, which I love that that's a line on FanDuel. Let's see if those odds have changed at all. I mean, do we talk about this being one of the best Auburn teams ever across all sports? I think you got to start having the conversation. Did they take that prop out? I think they removed the prop. There was a prop on FanDuel for like the last 2 weeks of like, will Auburn have an undefeated regular season or undefeated SEC season? And they took it down. Interesting. Wonder what that means. Okay. All right. I'm so glad you said this. Cheese says that Charlie 5 was calling everything with Chaney like little. And I don't know if y'all heard it, but on the TV broadcast, one of the Oklahoma guys was defending Chaney, and they said Chaney Johnson, little hand action. And it's just so funny because on today's show, we talked about, Kyle kept saying like his little hook shot or, his little touch around the basket. And he was not little tonight. There's no question with that. What did Chaney end up with? 4 of 6 from the floor for 13 points. Like that's exactly what we needed out of Chaney Johnson. And if Chaney Johnson gets you double digits, like you're probably not losing. That game. So funny. I'm glad that you pointed that out. For sure. All right. So what else does Auburn need to do to take that step forward? I saw some criticism earlier this week about how Auburn's not getting better. And then they do something like this. It's like Auburn's good, but like, are they peaking? And I just don't think that they are yet. I mean, Auburn put up 98 points, beat Oklahoma 98-70. And there's still a lot of things that they could have done better. A ton of things that Auburn could have done better. And to me, that's the most exciting thing about all of this. I can't wait to see what this team can do, guys. I can't wait to see what this team can do. We've had a lot of people join since I brought this up, but I want to talk about Chad Baker Mazzara I think showed some leadership tonight. I think he was, I don't think he should have fouled out. Would he have eventually fouled out and got that fifth foul? Sure, 100%. But the way he handled himself on the sideline, I think was super cool, super crucial, and clearly his team responded to it. That's how they view him. And once again, I can't stress enough, this narrative of him being a dirty player, I don't think is true. I think it's false. And once again, he got elbowed. And if he would have elbowed somebody, they would have kicked him out of the game. They would have towed his car. They would have moved all the furniture out of his apartment. There's no telling what, if he would have been treated, or the way he was treated, if he would have done that to Oklahoma, there's no telling what the calls would have been. Yeah, he stuck his tongue out. Who cares? Who cares? They just elbowed us and kicked Denver where you don't want to be kicked. It's what are we doing? What are we doing? And the refs are just yeah, we're fine with that. But goodness gracious, if you stick your tongue out, whatever. And I do get the criticism of Chad needs to know better to not do that. But also it's I don't know. You're up 20-something points. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us so late. It's almost midnight for a lot of you East Coast folks. Let's all think about each other in the morning when we got to go to work a little bit. It feels a little bit earlier, but incredible outing for these Auburn Tigers. They continue to stay unbeaten in SEC play. Please like the video. The live stream really helps the channel out a ton. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you're listening to this after the fact on audio, please subscribe and leave a review. It really helps the channel out a ton. Love you all so much, and we'll talk soon. The Tigers win 98-70. Incredible stuff. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.